Ah!
Oh my goodness, what on earth did he eat? That made the mighty Dee so miserable in the food chain. Such a massive water reserve even made the nearby camel feel ashamed. Even the newly fixed front tooth was blown away by a burst of projectile vomiting. The story began that day when the bored Dee was browsing the immoral map and unexpectedly discovered 6 neatly aligned black dots suddenly appearing in the Ethiopian desert. You know, that place is the hottest region in the world and completely desolate. Not even birds poop there. Such a strange sight left even the experienced Dee utterly confused. Scratching his head to uncover the truth, Dee decided to personally go investigate. Unlike previous challenges, this time, aside from not bringing his hair, he brought everything useful or useless he could carry. He then went to the airport to meet up with his crew. They boarded a plane to the nearest airport to their destination. Since he was unfamiliar with the place and language, his top priority was to find a translator who spoke English. Although schools here taught English, he thought finding a translator wouldn't be hard. But after wandering the streets for ages, these guys only spoke their local tongue. Not a single one knew English. Just when he didn't know what to do, a voice from the crowd shouted hello, instantly catching Dee's attention. Xiao Bai was the only local with a university degree. After a short conversation, Dee learned from him that reaching the desert from here would take at least a week on foot. Knowing Dee was unfamiliar with the area, Xiao Bai volunteered to help. They quickly established cooperation. Unfortunately, a city officer in a yellow cap came over, rudely smacking someone with a stick. Dee, as always, didn't mind watching the drama, and, feeling strong and unafraid, stayed behind, like a battlefield reporter. To save time and energy, he decided to follow a camel caravan. These were the rock bricks the caravan sold, used as currency in circulation. Each brick was worth about $1. Lucky find. After getting an exact location from a dealer, they went straight to the bus station. But the station owner's wife was unhappy at the sight of cameras and kicked them out. Luckily, Xiao Bai was resourceful. He had Dee hand over the camera and went to apologize politely. As expected, with sweet words and sincerity, he moved her heart. She even arranged someone to help carry their luggage. Soon they boarded a van, heading for the nearest village to the desert. On the way, Dee met Ali from the Afar tribe, who shared valuable information. After a bumpy 2.5-hour ride, they finally arrived at the entrance of the desert. Night fell, and Dee enjoyed a cold shower before falling sound asleep. Night fell. Lord Da took a refreshing cold shower. Then he lay down and fell sound asleep. In the blink of an eye, it was the next day. Today's task was to prepare the tools needed to enter the desert. But that wasn't all. They also needed a local guide. Ali, whom they met before, was without a doubt the best choice. But to bring him into the group, they had to take along his 4 full-blooded brothers. As a result, their team of 3 suddenly became a gang of 7. Lord Da realized he had been taken for a ride, but since he knew no one else here, he had no choice if he wanted to transport enough supplies. So he rented 7 camels at the price of £9 and 15 shillings. By the dawn of the 4th day, before the sun could scorch their heads, the large group set out in full force. But at that moment, the downside of having too many people became obvious. Every 5 minutes of walking required a 2-hour rest. By noon they had barely covered a few miles. For Lord Da, who preferred to travel alone, it was frustrating. Seeing that they refused to get up, he couldn't help but go forward and urge them. Only with some extra pressure did the group reluctantly continue on. As they moved forward, the yellow sand beneath their feet gave way to rocky ground. This salt plain must have been an ocean thousands of years ago. Before long, they came across a group of traders. Here, salt bricks were called soft gold. To avoid being completely cleaned out by the group, Lord Da, they reached Kazakhstan, as expected. Except for Lord Da and the cameraman, the others clamored for another rest. Even though Lord Da was wealthy, he couldn't endure this endless delay, so he decided to continue the journey alone. After that, he asked Ali how to communicate with camels. To his surprise, Bear's imitation skills were excellent. In no time, he had the camels completely under control. Of course, to survive in the desert, water is absolutely essential. So, Bear spent a fortune to buy a goatskin bag from the villagers to carry water. After a simple rinse, he realized it was filthy inside. Even the poured out water carried grime. But Bear wasn't bothered by it. Before dawn on the 4th day, he set out with 2 camels, without that troublesome group slowing him down. His pace was much faster. By the time the first rays of sunlight touched the desert, he had already left the settlement behind. But by just 7 a.m., The temperature had soared to a staggering 42 C. Luckily, he carried enough fresh water, otherwise survival would have been impossible. Then, in the blink of an eye, he noticed one of the camels trying to run away. All his drinking water was on that camel. In a panic, he left the camera and the other camel behind and rushed to chase it. But this camel was stubborn and rebellious. The more he chased, the faster it ran. When he finally returned empty-handed, to his shock, the other camel had also seized the chance to escape. At this point, rest was out of the question. While it hadn't run too far yet, he quickly subdued one, then dragged it along with all his strength to chase the other. After 2.5 exhausting hours, and retracing 2 kilometers, he finally recovered both camels. By then, he was utterly drained. He found a bush to rest under for a while. He poured some water from the goatskin bag, the very source of life, and ate it together with a crunchy flatbread. Full and satisfied, he lay down to rest for a bit. Everything seemed so comfortable. When he opened his eyes again, the hottest hours of the day had already passed. After packing up his gear, Bear set out once more. But shortly after he started walking, he felt a wave of dizziness. He had no choice but to rest under a tree. Before he could make sense of what was happening, a violent surge from within burst out uncontrollably. The sudden eruption even left the camels nearby stunned. They couldn't believe his outflow was stronger than their humps. To make matters worse, the powerful stream even knocked out the front tooth he had just fixed. That was bad. Now his speech would whistle. As nightfall approached, he planned to stop and recover properly. But while preparing his camp, he nearly burned the hair that had just grown back. It was exactly like the saying, when bad luck comes, even drinking water chips your teeth. Before dawn the next day, Bear was already on the move. He pushed forward with his camels for miles without stopping. Finally, he spotted several dark shapes ahead. Cross-checking with satellite maps, he confirmed they were the black dots he had been searching for. From the outside, it was clear they were man-made, but their purpose remained a mystery to him. To be safe, he filmed them from every angle, leaving no blind spots. He would ask the locals about their meaning later. After doing that, Bear moved to a shaded spot and prepared to rest. But suddenly, a stranger with sharp teeth appeared out of nowhere. From his words, Bear learned those piles of stones were actually ancestral tombs. Once he understood their purpose, the two of them retraced their steps together. And with that, Bear successfully completed this challenge.